We got a tier list here. I'll real quick go through all of the franchises on this list. I'm going just by the picture too, so hopefully I recognize them all.
I tried to make
I think
it recognizable.
I do. Yeah. The first one is just Vin Diesel standing in front of a car, so perfect. We got Fast and Furious. We got the Rocky/Creed franchise. We got the Venom Sonyverse Morbius franchise. The MCU. The Monsterverse, which is King Kong, Mothra, Godzilla, all of those. The Star Trek universe, which I'm unsure about the continuity on, but I have opinions about Star Trek. We got the Lord of the Rings franchise, Star Wars, Back to the Future, Transformers, Shrek, Harry Potter, the Lego movie, DCU, and the X-Men. Something we didn't discuss, the Fox X-Men franchise, that is. Something we didn't discuss going into this is how we were going to rank these. By success, by overall movie quality, by all of that. What do you think, Trent? What should be the benchmark of putting these through D through S tier?
So I'll go through my thinking of what cinematic universe means to me, right? Means
Right.
like a main storyline, a main through line of movies that contains more movies than just like the main title, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I feel like we should just rank it on, guess, just how much we enjoy it / how successful it is.
Let's do, just like overall enjoyment, success, and I'll throw in a little like continuity. Like how often do things call back? How much does it feel like a real universe that exists?
Yeah.
You know?
Totally agree.
And cool. So let's just start and go down the row here. First is the Fast and Furious franchise, which is pretty much all just Fast and Furious titles, and then Hobbs and Shaw.
Yes, and Tokyo Drift, I guess.
Okay, I guess. I'm obviously not the biggest fan of the Fast and Furious movies. I haven't seen all of them. I've seen a few of them. I think they're fun though.
Mhm.
I think for what they are, if you enjoy Fast and Furious movies, I think that everyone that's come out shouldn't be disappointing you. Like they're all family, they're all fast cars. I think you're a bit closer to the franchise than I. In my head, I see that, and I think like B.
Yeah, that's where I would put it. It really feels like America's Bollywood series. It seems like crazy, like just out there things that would never happen, that are just like super unrealistic scenarios, but you know, you got to watch it because family.
Next we have the Creed universe. I think this one I'd put in A, and the reason being, I think it, out of all of them, it feels the most connected, almost a little bit too much when you go from like the Rocky movies, then Rocky's training in Creed, and Creed is the son of Apollo Creed, and he's facing the son of Drago. And
very Star Wars.
Yeah, exactly. It's very, very entwined, which works for the movie universe. And that's why I'd put it in A. If it wasn't as connected, I'd honestly put it in B, even though like those things aren't super believable. But I think not all of the Rocky movies are good, obviously, but Rocky and Rocky 2 pretty good. And I think all the Creed movies are phenomenal. So just quality there.
I think that you have to give it extra points because each series stands on their own. You know, 'cause you could definitely watch Creed without having really seen the Rocky movies, and then you could also watch the Rocky movies without really having seen, obviously, and without watching Creed.
I think they're the best at doing the soft or reboot thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of I think a lot of sequels have done that, or reboots, where it's like, oh, it's still the same universe. All the characters,
Yeah.
they might show up, but they're old now. But it wasn't that. It actually was Rocky being involved in the story, but they didn't feel the need to put Rocky in the title, which I really like.
Yeah.
Why don't you take the next one, Trent?
We're doing the Sony universe.
The Sonyverse.
So we got Venom, Venom 2, and Morbius. And coming out soon is going to be Kraven the Hunter. So definitely going to be on the lookout for that one. But
what do you mean soon?
Apparently it's filmed.
What?
Yeah.
How?
There's a trailer.
Strike.
There's a trailer out.
There's a trailer? Oh wait, actually, I think I've seen the trailer. I think I've actually, yeah. I think I suppressed it, but now I'm talking about this. Oh my god, I remember. Yeah. Okay.
So Aaron Taylor Johnson playing Kraven the Hunter. Super not exciting stuff.
Didn't Aaron Taylor Johnson have a character in Homecoming?
Not in Homecoming, but he was Quicksilver in Age of Ultron.
Right. I was thinking about the other guy.
Yeah.
Cool.
I would put this in. It's hard not to. I don't know. I feel like Tom Hardy brings it out of D, but maybe Jared Leto puts it back in. You know.
If you're talking about like universes that I don't think are real,
yeah, that's facts.
Like I can't imagine this world being a real world.
That's so true.
It's D.
Yeah.
And when you talk quality of movies, yeah, Venom, the first Venom is watchable. The second Venom is
yeah, that's true. I totally forgot about Woody Harrelson's character in too.
And then what? Then you have Morbius, which is terrible.
Yeah.
It's got to be the worst universe. That being said, if you count the Spider-Verse movie.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I feel like you do have to count the Spider-Verse movies. But then again, like
if you count
it doesn't
Spider-Verse
feel like
movies,
Morbius
it's C.
Connected. Yeah.
Because just the quality of those movies would push it to C. But we're not going to give them that because we could say Spider-Verse is also connected to the MCU.
Yeah, exactly.
And the Raimi-verse and all of that.
So we'll split the difference. We'll average out the scores for Spider-Verse.
So yeah, for our audio listeners, we have Creed in A tier, the Fast and Furious franchise in B tier, and the Sony Venomverse in D tier, D being the lowest tier. And next we got the MCU, which I would still say is S tier.
I think so.
Just because it's the only universe that has pulled off a culmination film.
Mm-hmm.
It's the only universe that everyone understands to an extent. And if you end it after Endgame, where you just cut off all of that stuff, like it's maybe the greatest run of movies of all time in terms of like a studio releasing blockbusters.
Yeah.
Like there's hardly any misses, which is just not something you do. And for that, even though you can go back and be like, oh, this feels so Marvel-y, you can't take that away. It's S tier. You could argue with the wall about movies you don't like, but we're talking the whole universe.
Yeah. In the groundwork that Marvel laid, like to the culmination of Avengers, to Infinity War, to Endgame. It just feels like nobody will ever like capture that hype again. And for that reason, I feel like it's got to be S tier.
Like there's a chance, but like you said, it just feels like the cinematic universe trend is on its way out. In terms of the way Marvel did it, phase 1 through phase 3.
Yeah.
Like that style you can't do anymore. And they did it to perfection, and they were the only ones ever to do it. And for that reason, they're S tier. And like even the stuff that's come after Endgame, still good. Most of it's still been good. Like stuff like Werewolf by Night just adds to like the universe.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel out of place. Still releasing good stuff, and
Mhm.
it's hard to put it anywhere but S.
Yeah.
Why don't you take the next one here?
Is this the MonsterVerse, right? So we got the Godzilla versus Kong universe, as some might call it, or Legacy. I think it's Legacy makes these movies, but yeah, the MonsterVerse. So we got Kong Skull Island that's in there, and you got the recent Godzilla movies, and
Right.
I think there's a new show that's actually coming out that's set in this universe coming out on Apple TV.
Nice. So, I mean, out of all the movies that we've like, those are all very receptive, very well. I think that's an A to me.
Yeah, I think it's an A as well. A lot of people seem to like them. I enjoyed them, and it seemed to be like a fresh, like new, updated take on like the early 1940s, 1950s people or movies that people really liked.
Yeah. I mean, it's something that's gonna be around for what feels like forever. Like you're just gonna do an updated Godzilla or whatnot.
Yeah.
But the cool thing is if they get on the cinematic universe thing, you could say this is the same Godzilla in like 60 years. You could keep this universe going forever.
Yeah, exactly.
It could be the same universe progressing at the same speed as our timeline, but these are the same monsters, and they could do little callbacks to things and just keep that same universal continuity going.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I like it. Next we got Star Trek, which is more of a franchise. Not every Star Trek is the same universe, right?
Yeah, I think that's where it gets a little spotty because it's like there's branching timelines and stuff. So it's like this cast was in this timeline and have actually met the other cast of this timeline. So
I don't want to put it with Venom because that feels mean. So I feel like let's put it in C because it's confusing to us, and I'll make the Trekkies a deal.
Yeah, sound off in the comments.
Watching this, if you have any recommendations on what Star Trek media needs to be watched in order to get a full grasp of what a Star Trek universe is, let me know, and I will watch it.
I think the Chris Pine movie is pretty good.
It is.
Have you seen those ones?
I've seen one of those.
Okay.
Couldn't tell you whatever one they scream Khan in. That one.
Yeah.
But I am very confused by all the different like generations that they do. That it makes it almost like anime level confusing to hop into to me.
Yeah.
So for that reason, it's going in C. But I don't want to be disrespectful and put it with Venom. But next we have the Lord of the Rings Hobbit universe. This one is probably going to be near the top in terms of like world building.
Mm-hmm.
It's not set in the real world like most of these are. It is a fantasy experience, and it was books first, obviously, so it was very well written and planned out. I'd probably put it in B though, just in terms of cinematic universe. However, I am not a fan of the Lord of the Rings movies, so I could be talked up to A.
That is wild. Lord of the Rings has like the best world building. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The backstories of each house and each location, so well thought out, so groundbreaking at the time. It deserves to be an S tier, but I mean, if you're against it, I'll allow it to be an A tier.
I just don't love the movies.
The Hobbit movies may drag it down a little bit.
Yeah, I'm like okay with it in S though. Yeah, I think I'm okay with it in S. just because like I'm looking at these other ones, and you have a good point, just world building wise. Like, who has better world building, the Harry Potter universe or the Lord of the Rings universe?
I'd say
The what
Lord of the Rings because
exactly.
yeah,
Still put it up there just because I know there's a lot more that goes into that stuff, and the Harry Potter universe could be kind of confusing where the lines are drawn of the real world and not. So.
yeah, and it's like Lord of the Rings, you got all these different locations with all these different costumes in all these different houses that all have this distinct look. When Harry Potter, it's like, oh, let's just grab a bunch of kids and throw them into a hall and put cloaks on them.
Scarves.
Yeah. So
okay, you convinced me. We got Lord of the Rings in S tier. We put Star Trek in C tier. And we have the Venomverse, Still Lonely, in D tier.
mm-hmm.
Next, we have the Star Wars universe, which is the second biggest universe at this point in terms of film, TV, just media in general. Are we still S with it? I think we are. It's a cool fucking world.
Yeah, it's got to be S. Just because
like
we wouldn't have like most of these movies, I feel like, without Star Wars, you know? Like Star Wars really defined the blockbuster.
That's a great point. I've come pretty sour to Star Wars at this point in my life. I'll get back to it. We're going through a rough patch the last few years, partly just due to like the direction. Just because, like, okay, here's my thing with Star Wars. Here's my problem with Star Wars is I like when you talking about the stuff that have like this world building and has all of this lore to it. I think it's fun to be engaged with the community because people in the community, they're going to share cool pieces of lore and different like Easter eggs and stuff. And I find that stuff really cool. The flip side of that is you have to listen to all of the terrible critiques and praises for things that I just don't agree with. Like, I mean, we're probably going to be doing a full episode on The Last Jedi, as the movie that kind of broke my fandom because I love that movie. And if you ask Star Wars fans, a lot of them will tell you it is the worst movie ever made and it almost destroyed the whole thing. So like my gap to what I think is cool, is very big to everyone else. I also don't really love the Clone Wars as much as everyone else does, and I feel like we've just spent a lot of time in the Clone Wars, and you know.
So this is what I'll have to say. This is what I have to say about that. So you are correct. Star Wars fans, toxic. Let's just get that out of the way. Most Star Wars fans online on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it, and Reddit and anywhere, they love hating Star Wars. There's nothing Star Wars fans love more than hating on Star Wars. But
right.
Yeah, it does feel like there needs to be like more direction in Star Wars.
Yeah, I'll stop being nice with it. They need to make movies. They need to make actual movies. Like, I don't know what Rise of Skywalker was, but it wasn't a movie.
Yeah, it was just a movie by committee. It was just
Rogue One wasn't a movie. Han Solo wasn't a movie.
Rogue One was a movie. I think that you should go back and revisit Rogue One.
I will. It's not a movie. It's a collection of characters doing Star Wars stuff, and then Star Wars things happen. And at the end, Darth Vader shows up, and it's the coolest part. And it has nothing to do with the movie, has nothing to do with the characters. It's just Star Wars.
I think you should watch Andor, Ty.
I will. I'm going to watch it all.
Because Andor's really good. It's such good filmmaking.
Are you sure? Because the only thing I've seen about Andor is how it's ruined Star Wars, just like everything else.
Well, we'll take it from
Everything ruined
your
Star
love for
Wars,
Last
Trent.
Jedi. That it's good.
That's a good point, actually. Yeah, that's a good point. Just Star Wars fans hate it. It must be actually decent.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, that's enough Star Wars. Let's talk Back to the Future. They haven't put anything out for Back to the Future in a while, right?
Yeah, there's the Back to the Future the ride that was released in Universal Pictures, that was canonical in the universe. Partly why the reason why I put it in this. It's expanded universe. Yeah. But right, also right. I believe that Michael J. Fox and Christopher Lloyd showed up on the day that they were supposed to come in the future and came on like a talk show host or came on a talk show and like was like, oh, we're here from the from the past.
Okay. I mean, then we'll count that talk show appearance as canon. And I'm either C or B with it just because the quality of movies is going to pull it up. Because the quality of movies is definitely higher than the Fast and Furious stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Like, Fast and Furious has been able to pull, like, characters from 10 years ago and keep the same, like, continuity. So it's hard for me to put it in the same tier when we're talking about cinematic universes.
Yeah.
But I could put it in C.
Yeah. I'll settle with C.
Because, like, just cinematic universes.
Yeah. As a universe, as a trilogy, it's a near perfect trilogy. But yeah, I get what you're saying about universe.
Right. I think they're another one of the ones that could do the Creed thing. I would prefer them to do the Creed thing rather than a remake.
Yeah, I think they said they're just never gonna touch. They're never gonna touch it again.
Yeah, I know there's some weird stuff with Back to the Future, like the rights to it. Everything's kind of weird.
Yeah.
So I don't know. At the end of the day, money's money. Someone's gonna get the rights, and they're gonna make a hopefully a continuation. I would prefer a continuation over a remake. I don't like remakes.
Yeah.
Unless it's warranted. But the Transformers universe, that's one that has had a remake and then not a remake. I don't know if you know about this, but the last Rise of the Beast was supposed to be a reboot, but then they kind of like pumped the brakes on it, so it could kind of keep the same Bay aesthetic, and it's in the 90s, so
it's not in the Bumblebee universe.
Bumblebee's completely its own thing, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure Bumblebee is its own thing. Rise of the Beast is in the Bayverse. There's a lot. This is hotly contested. This is a hotly contested amongst the Transformers community, to which I am not a part of, but I do like to observe. It's one of those things. It's another thing that I fall asleep to is Transformers theories. Have you seen all the Transformers movies?
No.
Yeah.
I've seen the like the first one. And Bumblebee.
I will say this is tough. I think we may need to move Back to the Future up.
Yeah, I'm all for that. Moving it up to B.
Okay. Yeah, we're moving it up to B because I need to put Transformers in C because it's not quite D. However, there are some really, really bad movies. Some of the worst blockbusters of all time. The Last Night is genuinely one of the worst movies I've ever watched. And I wish I could have those what felt like 4 hours back.
Damn.
It's a rough watch. I don't recommend that one. I do, however, recommend Bumblebee. I recommend the first Transformers. I recommend the first 3 Transformers, honestly, if you're just looking for dumb fun. And then Rise of the Beast is okay. Those are the only ones I'd watch.
But if Mark Wahlberg is in it, don't touch it. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, just don't watch the Mark Wahlberg ones unless the first Mark Wahlberg one, which I think is Age of Extinction, it has one of the funniest scenes of all time where he's talking to his daughter and her boyfriend, and he finds out, oh, your boyfriend's a professional race car driver. You're only 17. Like, and he's 22. That's like statutory, isn't it? This is in a Transformers movie. Mark Wahlberg questioning the statutory, like the ethics of this. And no joke, bro pulls out his wallet and he has a laminated card of the Romeo and Juliet law saying that if they started dating before he turned 18, it's like a printed out thing. Hey, this is in a Transformers movie, and this scene takes like 5 minutes. He goes, oh, we dated for a month while she was a freshman and I was a senior. So by the Romeo and Juliet law in the state that we're in, it's not illegal. It's still incredibly weird because I'm 4 years older than her and she's under 18, but it's not illegal. And it's one of the strangest scenes I have ever seen in any big budget movie because it feels so out of place with the rest of the movie. They didn't have to make that detail. You could have just wrote her to be 18.
Yeah.
They decided they wanted this relationship to be like slightly predatory.
Yeah.
For some reason. And that's the most Michael Bay thing I could possibly imagine. So Transformers movies, they are a good laugh. Not good movies, especially when you get deep into them. They become a chore if you're doing a rewatch. The Shrek universe, though, is banging.
Fire. I'd say A tier.
It's A or S.
Yeah, I'm considering S tier. I think it's S tier actually.
Yeah,
just the cast of characters that it has, the movies, the continuity, like it's still going today, and it doesn't feel at all like a different universe than it did back in 2002 or whenever Shrek came out. You know,
it also has the advantage of being a universe we already know. It's nursery rhymes, it's stories, it's public domain stuff, but it's all cool and works in a universe really well. And I think the Puss in Boots movie, which I can't, what was the Puss in Boots movie actually called?
The Last Wish.
Oh yeah, right. That's a great movie.
Yeah.
I think I liked it more than I've liked any Shrek movie.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's a hot take, but I really liked the storyline and pretty mature themes for a older or for a kids movie. But it really, if you are an older demographic, you could enjoy it, and like it deals with themes of acceptance and death, which is just like wild for a kids movie, but it's in a really smart way that's not like aggressive in any way. So yeah, big fan of the Shrek franchise. Where we got Harry Potter, are we A?
Yeah, I put it in A tier.
Yeah,
just because like I think that it's very interconnected. There's characters in the last movie, I think that like culminate into a big giant scene. Have you seen all the Harry Potter movies?
I haven't. I will. That'll definitely be a part. I've seen the first 3.
I watched the last 3 for the first time, like last year, the year before, and they're pretty good.
Okay. I'll get around to that. We're in an interesting spot. I got a lot of stuff to watch, but like I feel like kind of pairing that with different podcast episodes. If you guys have any series that you would like us to cover, there's a good chance I haven't seen all of it. So you can get some first time thoughts and all that great stuff. So be sure to leave those down below if you got them. The Lego movie, I'm going to be hard on the Lego movies, not because they're bad, but because it's kind of just Lego, you know?
Yeah. But at the same time, like,
they're good movies.
They are good movies. And like I said, the cast, same thing as Shrek. It's just the cast of characters, like you bring in like the DC characters and they don't really feel out of place. It really, I don't know, it feels like It's a fun universe, but yeah, I don't think it's not, Star Wars or Marvel level.
Yeah. Let's go B with it.
Yeah, I'll go B.
Yeah. I think it kind of fits with those, albeit I think it's the strongest out of those three. Just to recap, we got two left, and that's the DCU and the X-Men Fox franchise. Going through what we have in S tier, we got the Endgame, the Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, and Shreks of them all. How does the DCU stack up against those for you?
Not at all. I think that those movies are taking down the DCU. Uh, I after the Flash, I feel like we gotta just make we gotta make it its own tier below Venom.
Yeah, yeah. No, this is rough. I wasn't sure where you were with this, but it's maybe the worst price per performance cinematic universe.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
some of these cinematic universes, like Venom, there's been like 2 or 3 movies, and they've kind of just all been bad to mid. This they pumped a lot into this. This so much money was put into the DCU, and it's one of the biggest flops of all time. When we like look back at this day and age, it's going to be talked about like we talk about the ET Atari game.
Yeah.
It's that big of a disaster, and I don't think a lot of people realize it yet, but they made Batman v Superman not profitable.
Yeah.
The movie Batman v Superman was a box office failure, which is just crazy to say. Add on to that the universe caps off with one of the worst comic book movies ever. I finally watched The Flash. It's terrible. I didn't want to finish it. I put it at 1.25 speed at one point. It was a rough watch. I was okay with Wonder Woman,
Yeah.
but now looking back, I'm like, what was the point of Wonder Woman?
Yeah. Yeah. Just for them to really just do the same exact movie in the second one, it felt like.
Yeah, it's a rough watch. I don't think they had to stick to Zack Snyder's vision or tone, and I think that was their biggest mistake. They made superheroes not fun, and I'm not saying you can't do serious, but like you need to have fun.
Yeah.
While watching it. Like, I think The Boys is serious, but I have fun while watching it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that are serious in nature, dramas that I have fun while watching. I didn't have fun watching this. I don't care what anyone says.
And don't
This is
even
another hot take.
Don't even get me started on the Snyder cut, and then trying to, and then all the movies after that having to decide whether or not they're going to use Zack Snyder's canon or they're going to use Joss Whedon's canon. And apparently the Flash has references to both the Zack Snyder Justice League and things that happen in the Joss Whedon Justice League. So
what bugs me about the Zack Snyder or the Snyder cut like discourse is that the perception that it's better in any way.
Yeah.
Why is it better?
Because
that's
taller
no
frame.
No one has ever told me why. I don't.
Yeah, it's longer. I guess it's 4 hours.
There's a bit more context.
Yeah,
a little bit more context, but it's a 4-hour movie. There should be a lot more context.
No Superman CGI mustache, but that's doesn't redeem it.
Like I'm thinking back to the CGI mustache, and it feels like such simpler times when that's all we were complaining about.
Yeah, seriously.
Like we're all so worried about the CGI mustache. We didn't think that the movie was going to be a massive pile of garbage, and then they were going to release a 4-hour massive pile of garbage because the fans really wanted it, which they did, but it was really just like a select group of like 50,000 fans being extremely loud.
Yeah. There's probably really like 10,000 fans with each 5,000 bots.
Yeah. Yeah. It's rough, but I'm Yeah, I'm down to put that in F or D,
Yeah.
whatever we want to do. The Fox universe, I think it's one that has some misses in it, has some hits, but it's also kind of confusing continuity.
Yeah.
Like if you had to explain the continuity of the Fox universe, it's gonna take a minute. So for that reason, I would put it at the top of C. Looking at this,
Yeah. I
Yeah.
agree.
yeah. I like a lot of the Fox stuff. Deadpool's really good. I watched Logan for the first time a few months ago, and it was great. I really just there's just a lot of mid in there. I remember watching the X-Men movies growing up,
Yeah.
and they couldn't grip me then. They're okay though. They're not bad at all.
Yeah.
And especially back then, it was a different time, so I can't fault them too much for like how they dealt with things because it was really unprecedented what they were doing.
Yeah.
They kind of were trying to do the solo film spin-off X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Yeah.
If there's a whole different world we're living in, if X-Men Origins Wolverine doesn't flop like it did,
Yeah.
we're living in a completely
So
different
many
world.
spin-offs.
We got an X-Men Origins Mystique, X-Men Origins Cyclops. It's going crazy. And I don't think Marvel ever gets those rights back because I'm going to say that would have been pretty profitable. But we don't live in that world.
Yeah.
We live in the world where X-Men Origins Wolverine includes a sewn-up mouth Deadpool for some reason.
Yep. That will go down in infamy as I feel like one of the biggest like comic book movie like misses.
Yeah, we talk a lot about adaptations and probably the worst adaptation of a singular hero you could possibly have. And they knew it.
Yeah.
They just were ignorant about it and how people were going to react to it, I guess. I don't know. But that's our tier list. To go over it one more time, we got in the S tier, we got Marvel, the MCU, Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, and Shrek. Right below them in A tier, you have the Creed Rocky, Monsterverse, and Harry Potter. In B, we have Fast and Furious, Back to the Future, and the Lego franchise. In C tier, we have the Fox universe, Star Trek, and Transformers. And then all the way down in D tier, you got the Sonyverse and the DCEU. I feel good with this list.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
Feels like a solid list.
I feel good putting the variant cast stamp on this. Let us know in the comments what you would have put higher or lower and what you think I'm wrong about, because I will happily talk about it on next week's show.